Microphony.
And a phony at the mic.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
The Doctor of Discernment is now online.
You know, much like my show, in that it's a local reaction to things that are happening on a federal level.
Dispensing a daily dose of common sense. No prescription required.
Wow, do I have a boatload of stuff for you, from the crazy to the absurd. Let's start getting into it because, I mean, it is bizarro world out there. And I say, if it's obvious to me, it should be obvious to everybody. Oh, wow. Who could have seen this coming?
This is the Fourth Hour with Greg Belfrage.
Hold on to your butts.
Broadcasting from my basement bunker beneath Keller. Is that all right? You hear that all right? Broadcasting from my basement bunker beneath Keller Radio. Welcome to the Fourth Hour. Always great to be able to spend time with you. All right, the president on True Social. Let's see what he's saying. He's made some interesting comments, and I'm seeing more and more the president's comments being picked up. Entire stories that are based just on comments coming, whether it's the president, whether it's Pam Bondi, anybody in the Trump administration. It seems like entire stories that are built primarily around the comments that they're making. And then a little bit of background. Okay, now we'll go back and we'll give you some other information, background. This is work we've done previously. We're just going to regurgitate that again. And I'm seeing that more and more. The number of stories, it's like, that are built on something Trump says, and it's like 6 lines on True Social, and they build a story all around that. And a lot of times there really isn't anything more beyond what the president says. So let's go right to the horse's mouth, right? We'll go right to Donald Trump's True Social account this morning. And the president, about an hour ago, demanding voter ID again. He said, and I'm totally with him on this, he said rigged elections are common in the U.S., with the presidential election of 2020 being the granddaddy of them all. We demand voter ID, he said. And then he linked to a story at justthenews.com. Justthenews.com is a story on the Somali fraud scandal. So Republicans are probing evidence of a blue state election scheme. So we'll see where that goes. There were some other comments the president made. We talked about this on the air this morning. This was one of the big stories today. The president saying NATO has been telling Denmark for 20 years that you have to get the Russian threat away from Greenland. Unfortunately, Denmark has been unable to do anything about it. Now it is time, and it will be done, he says. Now we're going to come back to while we're talking about Greenland, the New York Post has a story that's talking both about the Nobel Peace Prize and Greenland. And Trump says he no longer needs to think purely of peace following the Nobel loss. So let's see what he said. He warned, this is in a letter that the president sent to America's European allies. The president said, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace. So he sent this to the Norwegian Prime Minister, and it was forwarded then to multiple European ambassadors in D.C., according to PBS. And the message said, Dear Jonas, considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although it will always be predominant, but can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America, the president said. And he said, Denmark cannot protect that land from Russia or China. And why do they have a right of ownership anyways, talking about Greenland? There are no written documents. It's only that a boat landed there hundreds of years ago, but we had boats there also, the president said. He said, I have done more for NATO than any other person since its founding, and now NATO should do something for the United States. The world is not secure unless we have complete and total control of Greenland. Thank you, the president said. Now, he's been on this Greenland push, and what he's up to, I don't know. Newt Gingrich has some thoughts on that. Newt Gingrich is doubting it was a show that aired, a radio interview aired yesterday. And he said, I think Trump is making a lot of noise to set up a negotiation to get what he wants, which is tourist rights, economic rights, mineral rights, and national security rights. He said it's a huge economic opportunity. So he doesn't believe that Trump is, when he's talking about Greenland and taking, initially it was, we may take Greenland militarily, and then it was, well, we may buy Greenland. And Gingrich is saying he believes all of this is a negotiation ploy. And it may be. I don't know. Trump also said over the weekend he would levy additional tariffs on Denmark because they're opposing his plans for Greenland. So you oppose my plans, more tariffs for you. Now, whether or not he does, we'll see where it goes. And that brought some reaction then from Keir Starmer reacting to Trump talking about the tariffs. And I don't know. Do you get the feeling when it comes to these European allies that they sound a lot like the Democrats in Washington? They really do. They sound a lot like the Democrats in Washington. I want to go back to the president's True Social account because he also touched on some other things. He said there is $19 billion in Minnesota Somali fraud. Fake Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, a constant complainer who hates the USA, knows everything there is to know. She should be in jail or even worse punishment, sent back to Somalia, considered one of the absolutely worst countries in the world. She could help to make Somalia great again, he said. And that is also getting picked up. The president also touched on what's going on in Minnesota. And he said this yesterday. The president said, ICE is removing some of the most violent criminals in the world from our country and bring them back home where they belong. Why is Minnesota fighting this? Do they really want murderers and drug dealers to be ensconced in their community? The thugs that are protesting include many highly paid professional agitators and anarchists. Is this really what Minnesota wants? The crooked governor and Congresswoman Omar, who married her brother, don't mind because it keeps the attention off the $18 billion plus fraud that has taken place in the state. Don't worry, we're on it. Now, the president's making a very good point here about all of that attention now being taken off because of what's been going on in Minnesota. All of the attention is being taken off the fraud. And it really, in reality, it should not be. I mean, you and I should be looking at that fraud and watching what's going on there carefully and holding people accountable for what transpired. That's what's most amazing to me. There was some other things from, I want to go to X. Attorney General Pam Bondi said, I just spoke to the pastor in Minnesota whose church was targeted. This was about 12 hours ago. She posted this. Attacks against law enforcement and the intimidation of Christians are being met with the full force of federal law, she said. If state leaders refuse to act responsibly to prevent lawlessness, this Department of Justice will remain mobilized to prosecute federal crimes and ensure that the rule of law prevails. And it's great to hear her saying that. At least that's how I take it, perceive it. Bondi said, I've been in constant communication with Harmeet Dillon over these events, which the Justice Department is investigating at my direction. And this was what happened in the church in Minnesota over the weekend, that Harmeet Dillon had said the Civil Rights Division is investigating the potential violations of the Federal FACE Act by these people desecrating a house of worship and interfering with Christian worshipers. So Pam Bondi is saying the two of them have spoken about it, and she is also on it. And I mentioned this on the air this morning, a couple of days ago. She said, a reminder to all those in Minnesota, no one is above the law. And of course, that just falls on deaf ears because the left, and I think some of these people, and I've told you this, I know I might sound a little bit goofy when you hear me say it, but I believe you have some people, some of these paid agitators, professional people who do, this is what they do. The goal is to bring the country down. It's just no question in my mind about that. Nothing else makes any sense. I think that's what they're after, is they're trying to bring the country down. They're trying to topple the United States. James Woods is also responding on X. He's somebody worth following. Actor James Woods. He is one of certainly consistently conservative. Somebody I have grown to greatly admire. And he said, I think attacking Christians at church is the turning point in a civil war that has been brewing since the sexual deviance of the left went insane with Trump's victory. He said that embittered bitch, Don Lemon, stirred the shit this time. And he said it's not surprising. He's not new at it after all. So apologize for the language, but he's right. He's right. Don Lemon at it again. Stephen Miller also. He's somebody that I follow on X. A lot of the Trump administration officials, follow them honestly. I mean, you could go to X, and we talked this. Brian mentioned this. Brian the garbage man. Raise your hand, Brian, if you're here. Brian the garbage man said today, it's one of the things he does is, he goes to X and he's viewing comments there and able to, and it's amazing. As somebody who sees a lot of the news stories, the actual news stories that get written, a lot of it is surrounding these comments that the administration officials are making on X. So it's a smart thing to do, is to follow folks on X. I think there's a lot of information that's being shared there. Beautiful thing I love about it. And I even said this about Twitter and Donald Trump's use of Twitter back when he became a big deal initially, before Twitter kicked him off. And I said, you learn more from Trump and his Twitter account than you actually learn from the media. That to me was just worth gold. And it's one of the reasons why I now follow the president on True Social, because it's a great gauge of what the president's saying, what he's thinking, without the filter of the media, with them only sharing a portion of his comment versus the entire thing. It's the same thing on X. I like going to X, and I like seeing what these folks are saying without portions of it being filtered out, or we won't add this, because the media does that all the time. They will take part of the comment and they'll share a portion of it, and a portion of it that would really, this is what they do to Trump. Trump would say something, and they would leave out the portion where it made sense. So they make Trump sound like he's coming off the wall. You don't understand what he's saying, and you go look in the actual comment, and you totally understand what he said. It's totally clear. So the media has been playing that game of only sharing part of the comment, I think, for a long time. It's why I love X. It's and why I use it more and more. So anyway, Stephen Miller is on X, and he said, if you are surprised to see such a large volume of professional class leftists acting in psychotic fashion in response to routine immigration enforcement, remember the conduct of this same group during COVID, masking babies, terrifying children, boycotting family, shuttering schools, purging dissenters, signaling their virtue to in-group peers with even more extreme, painful, and draconian measures. Stephen Miller is absolutely right on. And if you noticed, I don't know if you've noticed this, that folks more and more on the left are targeting Stephen Miller as well for the things that he's out there saying. They just chafe. They chafe at this stuff. And I love it. Seriously. That's why I'm like, yo, you go get him. Absolutely right. I'm drooling all over myself here. All right. I found this at townhall.com. There's one other piece that I want to share with you this morning. Townhall.com, and this is a journalist, Kara Swisher, and they're talking about Barack Obama had said to Americans who spent their lives, working to build up their businesses and careers. Remember when Barack Obama said, you didn't build that, you didn't build that. And, it was everybody else who helped you build that. You didn't build it by yourself. You didn't do that. So now this journalist, Kara Swisher, revisiting the Obama statement, attacking billionaires for taking their wealth out of state. And she said, and I watched a portion of the video this morning. I'm not going to share it, but what she said was, you made all your money in California, you ungrateful piece of blank. You could figure out a way to pay more taxes, and we deserve the taxes from you. Now listen to these people speak. We deserve the taxes. So you were in California. We deserve what you went out there and built. We didn't do a damn thing to help you, but what you went out there and built, we deserve more of that. And I mean, that is nutball thinking. Wow. Where does that come from? That is just absolutely off the wall, crazy, Looney Tunes, nuts. When I hear that stuff, and these folks are for real. So they're going to, Barack Obama was the same way. You didn't build that comment. I remember talking about it at the time that he said it. We were like, what? Did he just say that out loud? But what we see now is more and more and more and more of that kind of behavior, those kinds of comments, those kinds of beliefs, and they're militant about it. They're absolutely militant about it, which is part of what's so scary as you watch these folks. Pretty crazy stuff that is going on out there. My friend, if you are not a subscriber of mine on YouTube, I hope you'll consider becoming one. Hit the subscribe button, please. We're looking to build up the number of subscribers. Also, liking the comment, liking the video. Just hit the like button. Give it a thumbs up if you're on Facebook or wherever you happen to see it. Reshare it. All of those things help because we're picking up more and more people. And I appreciate all of you. So I'm going to leave it there for today. So you made it to the end of the video. You are part of my gallery of champions. Special salute to the Bunker Brigade. Steve and Denise were here minutes before I even started. A lot of you, I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. So until tomorrow, my friends, I'm underground and gone.